All right. This is the simple way of plugging in your maps into the output nodes. But this is not the final way that we're going to do this. So what we want to do is, let's go into material filters. Where are we? We want the PBR base material, right? And that's under material filters, PBR base material, and we're going to drop that in just like that. All right, let's zoom in on this so we can see what's going on here. All right, so you can see coming out of our base material, we have base color, normal, roughness, metallic, ambient occlusion, and height. The other attributes that we brought in, we can just singular map those in. But these are the basics of a PBR-based material. Let me double click on this, and let's go down to the bottom. So we have to specify what we want to map in our PBR material. So base color, down here on the right, we'll want to say true. We want to go and map that. Now we have an input node for a base color. Normal, yes, we want to use that. Roughness, yep, we'll use that for our specularity. We'll use that input. Ambient occlusion, yes, and height, we'll use height, and I'll play around with something else other than the mesh-based height map, just so we can get a good look at that. All right, so now that we have this node, and the reason why we want this node is because this allows us to do some interesting things. It helps us connect, because what we can do is we can end up collapsing this to a single output. It'll help us connect all these maps and simplify our outline. It's just a matter of organization as well as processing the color a little bit differently. So let's go ahead and expand that. I'm right-clicking and expanding. And now let's take our base color and drive it into here. We're going to take our normal map and drive it into here. Here's our normal. Let's go ahead and delete these guys. And we'll delete these guys too. The emissive, I'm going to leave alone because that's not in our basic PBR material. But we do have ambient occlusion, so let's drag that here. Now let's go to the base color from here. Plug it into our output here. Normal. Let's see, I think that was our normal. Yeah, there's our normal. And then let's take our ambient occlusion and drive into the, oh, that's displacement. We do not want it in displacement. Let's delete that. Emissive, ambient occlusion. There we go. All right, and let's connect this back into our emissive. It looks like I accidentally deleted that. All right, so there we go. So now this is a little bit cleaner. Let's go ahead and collapse this for right now. We'll expand it out back again later on. And let's see what we can do to spruce up our model. So one thing is, right now I'm not seeing any shininess on my creature. He's pretty matte. It's all matte color. He's looking really dark. There's no reflection on him. I envision him being fairly glossy. I can use any black and white map or color map to drive into the specular value. So actually I'm going to expand this back out again because I'm going to be needing it. So let's just go ahead and just see what our ambient occlusion does. So I'm going to drive this into roughness. And from roughness, I'm going to drive that into specular. So you can see that my AO map has some very, very white parts to it. So my model is now extremely shiny, right? But that's not necessarily what I want. I mean, maybe this is good for one material, right? And then I'll build another material that maybe has some drier spots, and I'll use masking to work between the two materials inside of Substance Painter. That's one way of doing it, right? But this isn't really what I want out of the can. So what I did instead is I downloaded just a little sample of octopus skin. Let's see, where are you, octopus skin? There you are. Let's open that up. I'm going to import it. Let's take the ambient occlusion out of there. Let's drive that in. And now I have something a little less even. And let me bring this up so we can see it a little bit bigger. All right, so I get a little bit of a nicer speck. It's not quite so even. It looks a little more natural. And you can paint this out inside of Photoshop. You can go into your UV map and sort of copy paste things around. But it's so simple just to grab a texture and tile it across the surface and then use Substance Painter to determine where that shininess is showing up, where it's not showing up. Yes. Yeah, you would do it in Substance Painter, yes. So in Painter, we can work between two different materials, controlling a mask that shows one material through to another, and that way we can control where the shininess is going. But I like to start out with something a little bit organic to start with, and it doesn't mean that it has to be, you know, if you're doing snakeskin, it doesn't necessarily have to line up with your detail. It's just to give you more of a natural feel to your surface. So you're going to have to experiment with different textures until you get the right one. Inside of Substance, we have, there we go. So we have noises that you can use. Like here's the cloud one. Let's try that one out. Let's get rid of that guy. Let's get rid of that guy. And there we go. Don't see much of a difference because they're both relatively light. So let's try a darker one. Let's try our crystal one here. I kind of like the way that feels. You can also take multiple maps and blend them together, but I'm not going to show you that node today. So let's go ahead and delete this guy. And I'm going to plug this guy back in. And I'm going to go ahead and reduce the weights of the channels so it's not quite so bright. So I'm going to come in here, drop that back. Let's double click here so I can see what's going on and how I'm affecting it. Let's go back over here. So I'm selecting that gray conversion node that was dropped in. And now I can control the shininess on the surface. It's kind of sparkling. Kind of like that. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and use this guy for opacity 2. So there's opacity. Let's bring this down here. Drag that in. And I'm not sure it's going to play across, because once again, my video card, and I hate saying that. What I'll do on Monday is I'll see if our video cards inside the office will support this better, and then just load up Steam in there and get Substance running. Because I should be seeing something out of this already, and I'm not. I was actually really disappointed when I went into Marmoset, and I was like, oh man, this isn't this isn't working at all. Why am I not getting displacement in here? Because, you know, my lab machines, I get them no problem. Anyways, so there we go. Now let's take a look at, let's see, we have our height. Let's go ahead and drive this into our height, and let's see what happens. Should get an interesting result doing this if it's supported, and it's not. Man, I feel like I got gypped on my video card here. All right, let's go ahead and just delete both of those. So the reason why I would want to drive these, like why I would want to drive this into my opacity as well as my specularity, in addition to my height and my displacement, is because I want those things to line up, right? These are like surface micro details that I want to line up. So that's why I would use the same map. All right, so let's play with emissive then, since we're kind of broke on that. Actually, you know what? Let's try throwing an ambient. Let's see what happens. Not a whole lot. All right, we'll play with that in a little bit. So let's take a look at some of the effects nodes. I'm sorry, the material filters. Where are we? Where am I looking for? Mesh adaptive? No. Filters. Here we go. All right. So inside of our filters, you have effects that you can apply to your maps. So I have my emissive map here. And actually, I think I am just going to drive that into my ambient. I changed my mind. And let's go down to glow. There we are. I'm going to bring that node in. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and connect the output from my emissive map into my glow. Then take my glow and drive that into my emissive. You'll see that come back on the model. And let's double click the glow so we get its attributes now. And let's go ahead and increase the glow amount. So it should even out my emissive areas here. Let's increase the glows because I want that to spread out. And this isn't the same thing that as bloom inside of Unreal, but this will affect blooming if you have blooming turned on, right? So by increasing the glow amount, I'm going to get a pretty massive bloom off of these orange spots. They're going to be burning pretty bright. If we look at the belly, the egg sac will look pretty nice. All right, so glow is one. let's take a look at some of these other ones, and some of these I haven't even played with yet. And we could adjust contrast. So if we wanted to say tune a map, it's like I feel like my color is looking a little dark right now. Let's go ahead and drag this up here. I'm going to go ahead and delete this connection. Connect it here, come down here. There we go. And now I'm going to use this node. Try and brighten up my color. Bring up the contrast. And so this way I never have to leave Substance while I'm doing my texture work. Right? I can modify everything from here. All right, convert to linear, channel mixer, blur, high quality grayscale, so we can blur our maps. Ambient occlusion, this is a cool one, by the way. So we baked our ambient occlusion here, but you don't even have to bake it. The only reason why I baked it is because I like the quality of this map better than what this node provides. But if you're doing like a simple asset and you're trying to reduce the amount of maps that you're using and the load, you can drop this node in, take the normal map, drive it into this node, then take that and drive it into here. And there's procedural ambient occlusion, which you can tune through here. So bringing your high frequencies up, middle frequencies, low frequencies. Actually, I think we want these up. There we go. Right, and you can tune this on the fly. And the great thing about this node is that it is very tunable. This is less tunable. It gives you a better instant result, right? But this also increases the load time in game to have another map. This reduces load time and is highly tunable. There you go. But I don't want to use that. I'm going to be left with this little gray node, which I don't want. Hopefully I'm not disconnecting everything. There we go. And there we are. All right, so we have our ambient turned back in there. All right, so I burned through that material much quicker than I thought I was going to. This is the first time that I've taught Substance, so it's, you guys, it would help if you guys had some questions. How are you guys doing? Because I don't want to export today. I want to export on Monday, and I want to build in some richer stuff. Do you guys have any questions so far? Is this all kind of snoozy? Is it making sense? Or am I putting you to sleep with it? Okay, Claude, so you are importing the model, right? So I've imported the model already. We have to have the model to work with, right? I've also baked a normal map inside of ZBrush. and everything that I've mentioned before. So yes, you absolutely have to import the model into this program to work with it to build your materials. I mean, you don't have to. You can work off a cube, but it makes it easier when you're actually looking at the model. And in the end, you'll have to, I guess you will have to import it anyways, because when you bake everything out, it has to follow your UVs. All right, Simon. Yes, you import the model and then you, well actually, that's not true, Claude. You'll have to watch in the replay, but the first thing you do is you actually generate a new substance, which gives you your output nodes, right? These output nodes. And that's a new substance in here. Then once you generated your substance, you import or link your model, you link your mesh in, your low-res mesh. Then you start playing with nodes.